What's up, guys? John here. America needs to sell $10 trillion worth of U.S. Treasuries to foreign countries this year, or interest rates are going to skyrocket and inflation is going to get a lot worse. But the big question is, how many countries right now are looking to buy that volume of treasuries, or buy any treasuries for that matter, because many countries are unloading their treasuries.
Dominance of the dollar is now under threat.
China sold a record amount of stocks, $5.1 billion.
Brazil and China are ditching the dollar.
Look at China, look at different nations. They're looking at the dollar differently because the dollar's been weaponized, especially the last couple of years, whether it be Iran, whether it be China, whether it be Russia. Many countries have been penalized by having all of their weight and trust in the dollar. And when you start to pay very close attention to the chain of events that we're likely walking into, you're going to see a big problem on the horizon. However, there's a man named Hugo Steins inside of the Weimar Republic before hyperinflation took over and the economy really, crashed. What he did was sheer genius and became a billionaire in the process. And I believe we're likely following a very similar pattern where the Fed could be the buyer of all these treasuries, skyrocketing interest rates and really pushing inflation to the next level. I'm going to break everything down. I mean, this is absolutely, it's unbelievable, the type of world we're walking into and how much the world's changed the last 5 years. I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on and why I think that we're likely walking into a whole new America. Please hit the like button, hit the like button. YouTube will share this content to educate other people about what's going on in America. And if it can fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free strategy session for tomorrow, for Wednesday. Take a look at this. So the bottom line, someone will need to buy $10 trillion in U.S. government bonds this year. It's more than 1/3 of U.S. government debt outstanding and more than 1/3 of U.S. GDP. This may be a particular challenge when the biggest holder of U.S. Treasuries, namely foreigners, continue to shrink their share. More fundamentally, interest rate sensitive balance sheets like households, pensions, insurance have the biggest buyers of Treasury 2023. And the question is whether they will continue to buy when the Fed starts cutting rates. The answer to that is no. It would not make logical sense. Why would they buy a treasury that's producing a very small return that's not even, many would argue, not even keeping up with inflation, when they can go out there and they can buy something else? There's going to be better options out there. And so what's going to happen? They're going to have to increase interest rates to try to attract buyers, which is going to get directly passed on to the U.S. consumer. And so when you look at what's going on right now, some really big curveballs coming. You have a big tax cut that's set to expire, which would increase taxes about $3 trillion by next year, end of next year. And you start connecting the dots here. Ask yourself, if you were another country, even if you had you weren't negatively impacted by any of the restrictions that have been issued on these countries, such as Russia, India, China, and some of these other locations, would you buy U.S. debt knowing that Social Security is set to run out in 10 years? You have unfunded liabilities for Social Security as $600,000 a household. $600,000 per household. So according to Social Security and Medicare Boards of Trustees 2023 reports, Medicare and Social Security now exceeding $78 trillion in long-term unfunded obligations. This equates to an obligation of more than $600,000 for every U.S. household. Absolutely insane. 19% of Americans right now are on welfare or government assistance. 19%. So when you start to look at what's happened here, if they increase interest rates, if the Fed goes out there and buys, trillions of dollars in U.S. Treasuries, what will likely happen here? You're going to see inflation get worse. You're going to see interest rates, continue to rise. This is all going to get passed on to the American consumer. Their dollar is going to go not as far. The cost of service debt is going to continue to rise, meaning what? Assets are going to start coming up for sale. People are going to be pushed into a hard spot. Cars, homes, second homes, watches, you name it, businesses are, I think a lot of people are going to start looking at their dollar saying, you know what, I'd rather buy a business than sit in this dollar, or I'm going to buy farmland. People are going to start looking at the world differently as inflation starts to get what I believe is going to be worse. I think in America is going to step into a big problem, especially when you look at this $270 trillion investment that's going to be apparently needed by, in the next 26 years, right? This is spread out globally. So they say America, it's several $1 trillion every single year. Some estimate, McKinsey estimates $9.2 trillion every single year that's going to be required. So all of this is going to be inflationary. Like all of this is going to be inflationary. Where are all the foreign buyers gone for the U.S. Treasury debt? Look at China. They've unloaded 40% of U.S. Treasuries. 40%. You look at what's going on with BRICS. BRICS, 20 nations joined Russia payment system 2 days ago. 20 nations. CNN, right? Countries are clamoring to join BRICS. South Africa says, as Russia takes up leadership, nearly 36 countries are seeking entry into China and Russia-backed BRICS economic group 5 days ago, right? I mean, the Reuters, South Africa says 5 countries confirmed they're joining BRICS. I mean, all of this is within the last week. So you start to look at the chain of events that are unfolding here. It's not good news for America. It's not good news for the dollar, right? So for those thinking that inflation is going back to 2%, 3%, I don't see it happening. In fact, what I think is likely going to happen here is I think inflation will get worse. I think automation and technology will likely play a very, very, very big role with job losses over the coming 5 to 10 years. And there's going to be this massive, massive spread between the haves and the have-nots or the have-yachts, right? So I believe you look at a man like Hugo Steins. You look at Hugo Steins, what he did was sheer genius. So look at this. Richest man in Germany got rich from inflation, and you can too. A loaf of bread cost 200 billion. So a loaf of bread in Berlin costs around 160 Deutschmarks, right? And then at the end of 1922, now costs 200 billion with a B, Deutschmarks. So $1 US was worth 4.2 billion Deutschmarks. Prior to German hyperinflation, the exchange rate varied from 4 to 8 Deutschmarks per dollar. Now, that is a massive, massive swing. Now, many people will say, John, the dollar will never, ever get there. And I'm not saying it will. But what I am saying is, look at what's happened with the dollar over just the last couple of years. You used to be able to go to, a fast food drive-thru and get something for $5-6. Now you go through a fast food drive-thru and it's 18 or 20, right? Real inflation, the real cost of living has skyrocketed. And when you start to look at the chain of events that are unfolding in front of America right now, you have to ask yourself, how could things get better? I don't personally think they are. I personally think we're going to see a situation where going through a drive-thru might be $50 for one person or $75 for one person. There's a famous story about a person taking a wheelbarrow full of Deutschmarks to the grocery store, and someone came by, dumped out the money, and took the wheelbarrow. So worthless. I mean, that's how worthless the currency has become. And so what Hugo Steins did, he became the richest man in Germany. What Steins did was he loaded up on hard assets and debt prior to the hyperinflation. He was already rich, but the debt in which he loaded up in was infrastructure, coal mines. I mean, he was buying land. He was buying things that would, maintain themselves. He was not buying, for example, commercial real estate where, they have to refinance the rates in 2 years, 3 years, or some people even now. You have $2.7 trillion in commercial real estate debt that has to refi from now until 2027. So if interest rates continue to increase, the value of a lot of these assets are going to continue to fall. So having the right debt on the right assets is going to be extremely important. After hyperinflation, his hard assets held their value for the most part in real terms, but shot through the roof in nominal terms, while at the same time the debts he owed in terms of currency plummeted in value to the point of being almost worthless. Hence, he was able to pay off his debts with ridiculously easy while retaining his hard assets and becoming filthy rich. Here's a great article describing hyperinflation of Mr. Steins. I think the author goes overboard in predicting similar outcomes for the United States, but a gist of the article is accurate and fascinating. Well, I wouldn't say going overboard. I think this is probably what America is going to be going into. We're walking into something really, really interesting here, and I personally think that we're going to see a lot of people looking at America different over 2024. I think we're going to see a lot of Americans that have online businesses buying second passports, buying properties in different countries, looking to, maybe open up bank accounts in different locations, starting to spread risk. They're going to be looking at the writing on the wall because you start to look at a lot of the policy changes. You start to look at what's happening socially, the unrest that's likely probably coming in front of us. You start to look at all these different changes. You're seeing a new America. You're seeing an America that is going to be a lot more unstable than anything we've ever before seen. And so if you don't have, a universal basic income or some type of large government subsidy, you're going to start seeing some real problems in this country. But then again, that would also be inflationary, right? All these problems, I think, are going to really start to come to a head in 2024 and 2025. And I think those that have really, really good business plans, those that, maybe have an online business, are able to scale up, or maybe they have a really, really good job with stable income, they're able to use to, borrow money to buy maybe land, maybe buy a house with a lot of acreage. You're going to start seeing a lot of people do a lot of really, really smart things. You're going to see a lot of people being forced to sell off a lot of great assets over the next couple of years. What do you think about this entire situation? Do you think that we'll be able to find buyers for 10 trillion, 5 trillion, 3 trillion, any amount of, any significant amount of Treasury debt. I personally don't think we're going to see the amount of buyers step up, not even close. And I think the Fed's going to have to walk in here, and it's going to not be great for America. Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself, what I believe is going to be the greatest wealth transfer in American history, the greatest opportunity to invest and the greatest opportunity to build wealth, we'd love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com if you have any credit issues. So if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any issue at all in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com, click the link in the description just below this video, schedule a free strategy session, and I'll catch you in the next video.